Hello, everyone. Welcome to William and the Magic Box. Today on our show, we are going to have Lucas. Lucas is from Michigan in the USA. So let's see what Lucas has to say. Enjoy the interview. So, hello, Lucas. How are you?
I'm doing good. How are you? How are things overseas?
It's been good, great. Actually, it's been a great day in London. It's beautiful today. It's been raining a lot for the
Okay.
last 2 or 3 days, but for some reason today, it's been good. It's been a bit dry.
Oh, good. Yeah, it's been unseasonably warm here. Where I am in the States, normally, I mean, it's still winter, but it's usually, I don't know, usually like in the like 30 degrees Fahrenheit. But
Okay.
we've been like 40s, 50s. Friday we even hit six. So it was like, oh, okay, this is interesting. I'm used to it, but it's very, very rare. So we try to we enjoy it as we get it. So
And Michigan is the place where you've been raised and born?
yeah, actually, I was born, okay, so it's very US of me, so I apologize. In Michigan, our state looks like a hand. It's called the
Right.
Mitten State. Okay.
Right.
So our state is very different than any other state because we have what they call the Upper Peninsula. And it actually kind of looks like this. Only it's a little, we'll go like that.
Right.
So my family is from just, and there's a 5 mile long bridge. It's called the Mackinac Bridge. My family is from the UP, which is the Upper Peninsula. It's the first town once you cross the bridge, and it's the name of the town is St. Agnes, Michigan. That's like our home base for our family. But Michigan has an island, and it's called Mackinac Island. And my family is originally from the island, um, which leads to me. I am of indigenous descent. So
Wow.
both on my mom and my dad's side, I have a Native American blood. So we were raised up there for the longest time. Then we moved. So we went from up here, we went down to here, this is like the metro we call Metro Detroit, and we're in the suburbs. But my little brother never. I say I grew up north. My little brother doesn't know that wasn't his lifestyle. He was born and raised in the city. So for me, when I became of working age, which in the States it's 13, my parents every summer, I was home one day from school, like one day from holiday summer break from school, and my parents would ship me up north. And I worked on the boats that would take you to and from the
Wow.
island.
Wow.
My brother was never part of that. He was like, I'm not having it. I'll work at a McDonald's. I'll work anywhere, but you're not sending me up there. He says it this way, that when we were younger, I should say, we have to go home to where time stands still, because it is very small town, very it took them a while to get with technology. So like when we had like the bigger TVs, and things like that, they still had the old school wooden TVs with,
Wow.
antennas. So it was interesting. A little culture shock, kind of being raised up there to down here. But I graduated down here, and I went to university in the middle of the state, which to me it was a small, I would say it was a mid-sized university. We have two big universities in our state that are rivals and things like that. So, it was just, I like living here. I've grown up, and we have, the Great Lakes and little inlet lakes, but if I could just get over the winter, I'd be
Amazing.
okay with that. I'm only jealous of the South because they don't get a winter like we do.
I love it. It just made my day now. I like the way you're explaining about the island, about the state itself. It's great about the Native American as well, something that's very related to. I think it's something
Yeah.
very interesting. I'm originally from Brazil, and
Oh,
the state where I come from, we have a lot of Amerindians and all the natives as well. And funny enough, my mom works in a university that's the only university in Brazil
Oh
that
wow.
they hold twice a year, I think. So the native they come to study to get themselves, graduate university is the only place. And it's funny because they come with their own costume, the way they live daily. So they come there
Oh
and
yeah.
it's amazing to see,
And that
to talk
was
and know that.
yeah, and that was a big thing like growing up. So like um I'm a child of the 80s. I was born, I'm December of 80. So, I was kind of like that last generation of Gen X. And when I grew up, I did majority of like my schooling downstate, in the metro area. We had a lot of I never check the Caucasian box when we do our census or when we do, any of our job applications. I never check Caucasian, and I always check my Native American. It's just that's who I am. So when I started school, that was one of the things of like, they wanted to know everyone's background and all that stuff. Well, because they found out that I had Native American ancestry, they tried to do like a culture we have like this culture day. So me and I don't know, like three or four of the kids would get pulled out of primary class, and we would have this half day where we would learn about our people.
Wow.
And then they granted us day like kind of like a free day or just your excuse. Back then attendance, back then no one really cared. You came to school, you got education, but they would give us a day where if there was a local powwow or if there was a powwow back home, as long as you did like a report on it, they gave you credit for being in school that day.
Wow.
And we, we were a part of that. We would go to them, but we were never actively in them. So like I never learned how to drum, I never learned how to dance. But the cultural parts the aspects that we kept was the religious ceremonies. So there's a tradition when we go across the bridge, we give an offering. So we usually take like a thing of tobacco, and as you're crossing, you just kind of sprinkle it out your window. So it's environmentally friendly. But there's a lot of those cultural differences, and that's the one thing. Like when you reached out, and I found out that you were from, the UK and London, and I love that. I just love like English culture. I just love like that. To me, we were always raised that America was the melting pot, and all that stuff. To me, looking overseas at England itself, of like not just African Americans, but you have Indian Americans, you have Asian Americans, you have a lot of Jewish people of descent, and then a lot of true English, this is Caucasian English, and all that mix of like even like the religion and all that stuff. I'm like, that's actually to me the melting pot. Like, and I
Yeah.
know it's one
Yeah.
person's vision, is something else, but to me, like that always made more sense because around me, we grew up with, I grew up in an urban area, so you
Uh-huh.
had middle class white Americans, you had we had a bunch of oh my god, we had a handful of Greeks that lived on our street, and they were like my best friends, and I love food, so they that was my culture, and and it was I grew up in it, so to me I never really saw the melting pot. I never understood that symbolism until I got a little older and I started to watch British TV. Like we get BBC here, um, and I grew up watching, and I'll date myself. I grew up watching Are You Being Served?
Right.
And that slid into things of like the way the way that they look at things are completely the way that we look at things. And I have a couple friends that they came over from England for schooling and things like that, and they just ended up staying. And I'm like, how do you feel when you go home? They're like, my parents call us Americans now. We have been Americanized.
Eh,
We forget our manners. We forget the things. I was like, I get it. Because when I go home, when I go up north, it's the same thing. I would get a very thick, you would call it UP accent, but it's a mix of like Canadian and American.
Right.
And I will talk with like my parents or an aunt or an uncle, and it comes back like that. Like
Yeah,
I'm home an hour, and my mom's like, "Your accent's back." I'm like, "Yep," because I'm home.
that's amazing. Interesting. And Lucas, what do you do for work, for living?
So for a living, I actually work in corporate America. I am a data analyst, and so I look at a lot of the numbers that come in and they say make sense of it. Um, I've been doing that for gosh, 11 years now.
Right.
So the reason that I have, you see on the screen, my name shows as Jason. It's my government name, Jason, and I have a social name which is Lucas Edwards.
Hmm.
During the last last couple of years, I had to actually become more of an independent employee, and I kind of work for myself. So I'm hired to work with the corporation I'm with, um, because we went through some downsizing. America, a lot of things happened. America's going through a recession, and my basis was real estate, and kind of it just changed. And when it changed, I was like, I need to change with it. And it was kind of funny because I made that decision, and shortly thereafter, my position with my original company was eliminated due to some
Oh,
downsizing. So I was like, okay, like it's a higher power, the universe is working. So
absolutely.
on top of doing my data analysis work with corporate America, I got into being kind of an influencer, working with through the OnlyFans and the Just for Fans and things like
Mm,
that, and being more, I'm active with it, and it's more of a side hustle. But anonymity for me is actually kind of big in some areas of my life, because I learned very early on working in American corporate America.
I see.
You this new venture of mine is very interesting because I've never really worked for myself before. And
Hmm.
I am very structured. I'm very OCD, and I have that mentality of, here's my timetable. I train in the morning, and I come home, we're gonna do this, and it's all blocked off. I gotta make these calls, and we'll get this done. So it's kind of like that second surrender in life of, I'm doing what I want. It makes me happy. I love working in corporate America for what I'm working with now. They're a great company. They treat me very well. But this other thing, it,
Hmm.
it it's a passion I found that I didn't know I had. So
Amazing.
it falls under, um, you know, my creative side, which I never thought I had. I thought I was more analytical and scientifical, but that's just how it is. So
It's great to be exploring, different areas, different passions, and I think that's what life is about. For you to be able, open-minded, and just explore something that's gonna bring you some joy, some happiness, some business. I think it's all connected, makes you happy. And during the journey, I'm going to explore a little bit more about your life overall.
yeah,
Okay,
for
look,
sure.
are you ready to go on a beautiful journey through your memories of life and share your point of views?
I am. I'm actually really excited about it.
Amazing. Welcome to William and the Magic Box. So I've got him a best. Okay, full of fun questions. I'm just gonna play a song now, just for us to relax a bit before the first question. Okay,
Perfect.
just let's do it. Hey, so during the interview, if it comes up a question that you don't want to talk about, some reason you don't want to answer, always can change. Okay,
Perfect.
right. First question for you is: what is the first thing that you think about when you wake up?
This is a this is a question. I love it. Um, my gratitude. Um, I it's gratitude, because, and I say that because, universe willing, come this May 21st of this year, I'll be sober 7 years. Um, I never thought about being grateful. Um, it was just one of those things of, I took life for granted. I took a lot of things for granted. Um, I didn't understand how delicate life was and how limited the time that we have here is. So every morning I wake up, I'm grateful for it. And I actually do a little prayer when I wake up.
Mhm.
We in sobriety, we believe in a higher power, and it has nothing to do with religion. I choose to call my higher power God. So every morning when I wake up, I'm grateful, and I thank God every morning that I woke up. I ask that I be given the ability to stay sober for today, because I only have today. That my friends and family are kept safe, that I can help them as best that I can, and then I can bring joy into someone else's life, including mine that day. And that's where my gratitude starts off with. And because if to me, without the gratitude to kick the day off, it is what it is. I leave everything that happened the day before behind me because I only have today. I can't change the past, but I can change what I do today with that information. So definitely the first thing I think about every day is my gratitude and gratefulness for the day that I've been given.
I love that. I think it's I do that as well. I have a moment of myself, and it makes your day different. It's so amazing to wake up having this moment of yourself. It doesn't matter what you believe, what you're grateful for, but when you have this moment, and actually, I had the interview with a lovely man from Los Angeles not long ago, and he said to me, William, as soon as I step out of my house, I always say, I greet the day with gratitude. And
Yes.
this is powerful. Even I'm saying now, I get goosebumps because it's powerful. And sometimes those little things that you do about gratitude, it makes a difference in your life. You might not see straight away, but when you start doing it, you're going to see and you're going to be even more grateful for that. Next question. Hey, Lucas from Michigan. Next question is, what is a negative thing that happened to you that came out as a positive thing in the end?
That's a good question. Something negative that happened to me that actually turned out to be a good thing is um, it, it, being an alcoholic. You know, it. I just admitting that I was an alcoholic and getting myself help, and as a man, it's hard to ask for help. It's just something that, especially in the States, it's ingrained into us. And I think even, in Britain, in London, in England, I think that's still over there too, over like a man's man, and you do this and you do that, and you don't cry, you don't do that, you don't ask for help because you figure it out yourself. Um, and me as an alcoholic, asking for help, that I needed help, and getting it taught me so much more that drinking wasn't my problem. Drinking was the solution to my problems. I was just a very unhappy person when I was, during that time. And it was because I was fearful, and I lived in fear, and I used these character defects that I had, being prideful and all this stuff as my fallbacks to support being okay to live in this fear. So like getting sober taught me live one day at a time. Don't pick up a drink because it's not the solution to your problem. Ultimately, you are the problem, not anybody else. Even your mom, your dad, your cousin, your coworkers, they are not the problem. It is you. So what's going on with you? Is it a resentment you have against someone? Are you not being honest with yourself about something? Learning these skills that we call them normies. People that aren't alcoholics, they know these things. They were taught these things. Their mind kicked in for them. So being an alcoholic, getting into some trouble. I did have some run-ins with the law, some legal issues. And it took all that. It took hitting rock bottom to be jolted to where I am now. Like, I'm a hard worker. I learned discipline from it. I learned consistency. I learned, oh my gosh, patience. I didn't have a lot of those. you know, I learned to, listen to myself and to people. When I learned, the biggest thing I think was to believe in myself, because I never believed in myself. I always thought I needed the money or the car, or, or the boyfriend, or, the fancy house or the fancy clothes. I don't need none of that. I just need to know that I'm going to be okay. I need the life basis necessities, and it's all going to work out. I have no control over it. I can influence it, but I have no control over it. So, I think the biggest thing, most negative thing in my life was hitting rock bottom. And then, the turnaround was it that as I was jolted to where I am now, almost 7 years sober, in a committed relationship going on 4 years now. I own my own home. I'm more or less self-employed. I'm financially stable. And I never thought I would have those. Like, I never thought I would have, I actually, this year I got a new car, and I never had a new car. It was like, this is something new to me. So like, there was little benefits of it. And I think that everyone, and again, this is my opinion,
Mhm.
everyone needs to embrace those negative events in their life, because there is something positive always comes out of it. You just had to choose to find it, and kind of rummage through the trash and find that shininess that needs to be there, because it's worth the work. It is. And um, we have a saying in the program, in Alcoholics Anonymous: sometimes quickly, sometimes slowly.
Mhm.
And that's how it happens. And I have friends, I mean, many dear friends in recovery, and they've struggled a little bit harder than I have. But I remind them, sometimes quickly, sometimes slowly. I go, but I can tell you right now, you are different than what you were yesterday, and it's a lot better than what it was. So keep doing it. And I know it hurts. It hurt. It's gonna hurt. We all hurt. But if you keep going forward, inch by inch, it reduces itself. So yeah,
Yeah.
I got hitting rock bottom and jolting to the top. That had to be my biggest thing in my life.
And I think as well, I think, men, we tend to hide our being vulnerable. You tend to need to be strong, need to be, And actually, I had an interview today with a lovely man, men's coach, and he's from England, and actually from England, and
Nice.
he was literally talking about, he was literally saying the same thing you just said right now, and I can tell asking for help is a big sign of being strong. Crying,
Mhm.
asking for help, being vulnerable is a big sign of you to say, you know what, I'm a strong person.
Exactly.
Next question, let's do it. Yes, you always can join me dancing. Before the next question, tell me, when was the idea for you to start creating adult content? When the idea came along, if you can share.
Yeah. So the idea is like to start creating content and sharing content, and it came probably within the last 2 years. It was, I started to learn, as someone who studies data analytics, you start to learn social media algorithm. Like, again, there, I want people to understand this, 'cause I know you have a lot of followers. There is no specific scientific way we as the social media users can figure out our algorithms. It changes every day. And now that we're throwing in artificial intelligence, it's going to change even more. So if you think you have the metaverse figured out, you don't. So what I found, though, for me with my social media, Instagram, for me, I became more of an Instagram person than a Facebook person. Um, and it's just a personal choice. And I know they're tied. I know they are now the same company, but to me, they're still two separate entities. I found that by clicking a like or sharing a reel with a friend or whoever, it changed my algorithm. I started to notice it when I was at the gym. That's when I have, in the morning when I train, I'll walk on the treadmill for like 45 minutes. That's my me time. That's when I kind of get some inspiration from the social media. And I was finding that there's people that are on there like yourself, a couple sober guys that I follow, a couple just random people that they're out there, and they carried really really good messages. And there's this one, and I apologize to the creator. I forget his actual username, but he starts it off and he walks up and he's like outside. He's a country kind of a guy, and he says, You made it. You made it." And sorry, my voice will crack a little bit. You made it another day. I'm proud of you." And he hands the screen, which would be the person, this canned beverage. And for me, I assume it's a cola or something, a soda. And he just says, I know you had a hard day, and I know you're going through a lot. but you made it. You made it another day, and I'm proud of you. And to hear, and every time it comes up, I have these two buddies of mine. We got sober together, and we share it back and forth no matter what. Sorry, I'm gonna turn up. Because we meant a lot to each other. We all went through the legal stuff together. We all had the same but different problem. And when one of the guys actually replied back one day, and this was just shortly after I had, been let go from my job. So I was going through a hard time myself because I've only been fired once or downsized once, and it didn't last very long. But I was having a really hard time with it. And, I do have a partner of 4 years, like I was saying, and, we are financially stable with each other. And, he would always say, we'll get through it. We'll get through it. You have assistance that's going to come in and all this stuff. But my friends, these two buddies of mine that we got sober together, they understood what my mind was, because I always had to be self-sufficient. And that's, I think, a very big person recovery, and someone who's dealt with that. That's what we strive on, because it's only you. For the longest time, I only had me. That was coming, who was coming to save me. It was me. So I would send this to these guys every morning, or every time it popped up. And one guy replied back and he said, I'm really glad you sent this to me, because literally, you kind of saved my life today. I've been having a bad day, bad week, and it was carried forward. And, you doing that little thing, it helped me. So for me now, it's like, I know there's the reel that says, oh, this is how your friends talk on Instagram, that, plays great music and then goes, it's just all reels. But that's how we do communicate, even as millennials and Gen Xers. And that became really important to me, because my perception of what I felt was inspirational to somebody else, or they'll like it, or they'll laugh, or I have a girlfriend of mine that she's like, every morning I look forward to something funny that you're gonna send. And lately, since the new year, the trend has been, it's the reel where it says, good morning, mother truckers. I'll try to swear, morning, mother truckers, it's going to be a great day, you're sexy, you're going to show like, just things like that to start. That's, to me, showing somebody love and appreciation without having to necessarily text it or call them. It's there. I know they'll check it eventually. And to me, when they check it, when they decide to open that message for me, Adele is like just my hero. Like, she's just, whenever I'm down, it's her. But Idle Heart is a creator that I follow, and he's just so positive and uplifting, and he's funny, and he's goofy, and again, he's English, and the I get that sense of humor that is there. So to me, it's more of the sharing than creating. But I know my creating is part of the sharing, and it's more for my enjoyment than anybody else's. And if it brings somebody joy, then that's just a benefit to me. And if there happens to be monetary that follows, that's what happens too. Like, it's never, I'm not trying to be out there and be like, I'm gonna go viral to start getting my an Instagram check or a YouTube check. It's more of my passion. Like, it's what I do. I have my real job, but this is what I like to do with my spare time when I have it.
Amazing. Wow. Next question is, this is my favorite question of the Magic Box, and came up to you, okay? Send away a message to someone, but you don't need to tell who this message is for. Just the person who is watching right now would go like, okay, he sent this message to me. You don't need to tell their names.
Okay. I know that it's a struggle every day. I know the struggle. I've lived the struggle. But if you can change your mindset, your struggle becomes your strength. Have perseverance. Continue to push through it. Cry if you need to cry. Laugh when you need to laugh. Love unconditionally. And fight the good fight. We're only given today, and that's all we're promised. We have to be warriors, because there are no second chances in tomorrow.
Amazing. I love the message. I love it. Right, I have 2 questions left, okay? Let's do it.
Right.
So, as you've been talking and sharing your let's say, admiration for the British, for the English culture, I would like you to answer the next question with your best British accent, okay?
Oh Lord.
Can you make it? Can you do it? Yeah. If not, it's okay. If not, it's okay. Let's. If not, it's fine. Would you like to try?
We'll try. We'll try. Yeah.
Okay, let's do it then. What is your favorite weekend activity?
Oh. Honestly, when I get to talk to my mom and my dad, it just it relaxes me. They drive me bonkers. But I can't, know the British accent's gone, but
it's okay.
But that is talking to my parents. Like they do. They are getting up there. They are seniors. And they do live back home. They move back home. So I don't get to see them as much. But talking to them and hearing they bicker like a young married couple, which it's very reminiscent of my grandparents. And I just love it. Like hearing the fun they get to have in their retirement, and my parents were always my heroes. Both my parents worked. Again, I'm a child of the 80s. I was that literally, I'm a middle child, so I had to fight a little bit harder in life. But my dad, my dad is like he reminds me of a lot of the father figures that they show in movies, whether it's an American movie or an English movie. He works very hard. He'd work long hours. He'd come home. He'd have a couple beers, and he was really rough and gruff, of like just very straightforward. You need to do this. You need to do this. You need to do that. And then, as I got older, I understood, because he was trying to set good examples for us. And now to see him relax and I got to do this or I got to do that, but I'll do it in my time. And my mom, she was a stay-at-home mom for a long time, and then she went back to work. She was a nurse for a while, and that just got to be a little stressful for her. So she kind of came back, and she actually opened up like a child daycare out of our home. And it was to see, because I guess from the inside looking out, you don't really see how much your parents love you and what they do for you and what they did for you, right? When you were young, because you're young, you don't look at that. So to see my mom interact with like these young kids, helping them with, to read, helping them to understand bad versus good. It was, my mom was always there. Like she knew the right things to say, when to say them. She knew when to scold me. It was just my parents were perfect. Now it took a long time for me to get to that point, because like any young rebellious teenager, your parents are just out to get you. But I call my parents every Sunday. This weekend, I'm not sure when this will air, but this is Super Bowl Sunday in America. So it's our American football. It's our big championship. I know, and our team was one of the contenders, and they lost. We're very bitter. We're very bitter, just like you guys are with football over there. If someone does not win, like I don't know where you are with your football, but I know I have friends that they're very team Arsenal. If Arsenal doesn't win, life ends.
Liverpool.
That's there you go. Yep. So that's how it is here. So I know they'll be watching. So I know not to call during a certain time. So I've already sent my mom a text, and it's a little family group text. And I said, I will call you tomorrow on Monday, because I know you're very engulfed right now. And she replied back, she goes, we're just leaving church. Yes, we have things to do. I was like, okay. I'm like, okay, I love you.
Amazing. It's great to see this connection you have with your parents. I think, this genuine connection. It's again about being grateful for them, for the life that they gave. I think it's all connected. Ready for the last question?
Yeah, let's go.
Let's do it. Let's fun. last question. As you talked through the interview, so open about being sober, about the experience, about just hitting the lowest point. But when you look back through that challenge journey in your life, what's the positive outcome that you go like, okay, I'm grateful for that period of my life because nowadays you feel grateful for?
Yeah, so that's in that, and I'm glad that you asked that because it is one of those things that it's very hard, in my opinion, my view, it's very hard for some people in recovery to, we always say that we're never going to shut the door on our past because we'll learn from it. Like I still remember my last drink, I remember my last drug. um but what and I would never, and I say this to a lot of people, especially when I tell my story to a group of people in recovery. I learned, and I'm a little different, but I'm not, because I think it affects everyone that deals with addiction. I There were happy times when I was using, like, um, my drug of choice was alcohol. Everything else was a party favor. It just kind of added to it. So I had many joyous times drinking with friends and family. And, we come from a very big family. My mom and dad both had seven brothers and sisters. Then you got to figure all of them had like two or three kids. So we'd have big holiday gatherings, and we were, I like that. Well, I don't know if it was influenced by, your guys' culture or anything like that, but, you know, when we were at family functions, to have wine as a child or as like a teenager ish age wasn't uncommon. It was very well supervised. Like, okay, here's your glass. This is all you get. A lot of times it was watered down with, something. Um, and those are great memories. Those are great memories of, I remember having some great talks with my father over a beer. And my dad's a smoker, and just to sit there and chat with him about, because he's very, as much as I love him and as much advice as he's given in my life, he's very quiet. He's that typical boomer dad that just, if he has an opinion, he'll say it, but other than that, he kind of just nods his head. You know, so I tell a lot of people, especially guys that I'm helping in recovery, it wasn't all bad. It just got to a point where I couldn't control it. It took control of me. And that's with anything in life. I found that, there's possibility that I've crossed addictions to, you know, overeating because I love food. I like, the physicality of the intimacy of, a sexual act. But for me, it all dials back to, there's a common factor with all that: the word more. I like more. So for me, I have to make sure, even nowadays, when I eat, here's my portion control. I meal prep a lot of my stuff. I try not to play too many video games. I try not to work too hard. I try not to. Everything's at more. Because it could always go. There's always an addiction. Like, I could actually honestly say I'm addicted to training right now. I could go for 2 or 3 hours and just not even notice time. Not even notice the time. But the biggest thing with, reverting back to the question, is that I just learned about me. I never really knew me until I started this process of recovery. And it was a lot of, there's 12 steps. One of the steps is that personal inventory. And you're like, oh my gosh, I didn't realize all of it. There's all this, I call it kerfuffle, all this kerfuffle that I had to sort through. They, in the program, we call it, cleaning your side of the street. Once I sorted through all of this trash and all this emotional baggage and all of this and realized that I'm the problem, it all worked itself out. Like, my legal troubles, of course I wasn't drinking, so my legal troubles kind of sorted themselves out. I could think for myself. I'm honest, and that's, I think, a big thing, just on top of learning who I was, being happy, and then learning how to be honest with people in a polite way. Like, I can tell you, you're the lowest scum, you're the deepest, darkest scum of the earth, like the Grinch. but I'm going to try to tell you that in a kind and loving way to help you maybe not be that person. Maybe no one's told you. Maybe you honestly don't know. Um, so hitting rock bottom, learning about myself, being honest with myself about stuff, and being open to people and to feedback, right? Because I think that's, again, as people, we don't we as much as we again, my opinion, as much as we say we don't care about people's opinion, we do. We honestly do. So once an old business an old business owner that I know and I worked for a little while, he came up with these things that are called the isms, ISMS. So one of them was ignore the noise. Don't worry what people talk about you. Don't worry about what's going on in the outside world. Focus on what you need to focus on, and it all figures itself out. And I took that into getting, with my recovery, and it helped a lot, because there are a lot of people whispering in your ear, whether they want you to be whether they want you to be, a healthy, fun loving you, or they don't, especially people like you and I that, we're in that creative, social, atmosphere. You have haters. But here's the biggest thing that I learned that I love. And I heard it on the reels, I heard it on the TikTok, and I heard it just in life. You need to start worrying when people stop talking about you.
Of course, absolutely.
Because at that point, whether you're relevant or not, if they've stopped talking about you, they've moved out of they've moved on from you. So it's okay. Someone will always be talking about you. Good, bad, indifferent, just flow with it.
Amazing.
Does it still get to me sometimes? Oh yes, I have learned. Once I make a post, I did when NSYNC was doing. There was the Mystique, the Mystique of them doing their comeback tour or whatever. There was a song that I grew up with singing, and a couple people on the reels had already done it, so I duetted it. And there were some drastically harsh comments, and I'm like, I am a 42-year-old gay man just living my life. I'm on a treadmill. I'm on my fitness journey. I'm on a treadmill. I'm trying, just having fun. But they're gonna come at you. They're gonna come at you. So, and I think it was actually in the movie Wreck-It Ralph, the second one, where they break the internet, where Ralph started to read comments. They brought in that social media aspect to that film, and it at that point I kind of learned it was implanted, and then it started to happen. And I had brought two comments to my partner. They were Twitter comments, and my Twitter's a little spicy, so I put that out there. If you find me, it's a little spicy, so be warned. I warn everybody. And this person just started to come at me about me commenting on a friend who's a creator friend. I've never actually met him in life, and just said, "Hey, you're doing great on that fitness journey. Keep it up. Try this, do that. Just don't give up." And this person was like, "Oh, all of you blankety blanks are the same. You just party and you want our money and you're so superficial." And I'm like, I have taken a year and a half to lose 40 pounds to, I'm sober almost 7 years. I have been nicotine free for 6 years and drug free for 7 years. How are you coming at me like this? Like, I am not one of those people. I don't party. I mean, granted, I'll go to the pub and see my friends and have, a soda, a non-alcoholic beverage or something. Then somebody, and so that was one instance. And there was another instance with somebody on there, and I brought it home to my partner, who was more or less my husband. And I was like, "Honey, I made," I showed him my phone. I was like, "Honey, I made it." He goes, "What do you mean?" I go, "I got trolled on the TikTok. I got trolled on Instagram or on Twitter." He goes, "How did you handle that?" I said, "I gave him my opinion. I was kind about it. I explained myself." He came back again. And at that point, there's that great button that we have, is block or ignore. And I blocked it. And I reached out to my friend that initially started in his feed, and it said, "I'm sorry that person brought that into this feed. He goes, I am so used to it. He's like, but the way that you handled it as a newer person, because again, I was still early in my creating, my creating life. He's like, but the way that you handled it, you came back, and I said, I'm gonna tell you right now, if this would have happened 6.5 years ago, it would have been a completely other storyline. He goes, well, I'm glad that he's like, I like this story ending better than the other one. So, anyone, just ignore the noise. Go work with what you got to work with, work through what you got to work through, and then ignore the noise and keep doing what you got to do to make you happy. Because ultimately, in the end, that's what matters. So,
Speak good or speak bad, but talk about me. That's the
right.
thing. Keep them talking. Right. Last question is: what did you think was the most challenging part of being a kid?
Oh, the most challenging about being a kid?
Yeah.
Okay. Not understanding rules or not understanding something. In the US, it's very, very common if it's something you're told to do something or you're told not to do something, you ask why. The answer is just because I said so. But why? As a child of the 80s, we asked a lot of questions. We had a lot going on, a lot was going on. And you'd ask, well, what's going on? Oh, no, we were always told, oh, nothing. Oh, nothing. Everything's gonna be fine. That's how we were. So it was just not knowing. I don't think, as much as I was educated, I think I grew up not knowing a lot of things. And it was for our protection.
Mm-hmm.
But like I'll say this in regards to that. I am very glad we grew up when we did, because I feel that the kids nowadays, they don't have I can't think of the word. Everything that we did when we were younger, it wasn't put out there. Like it was very, you learned what you need to learn and you learn on your own terms. I feel that the kids nowadays, or a couple generations after us, they're just, everything's thrown in their face. Like we didn't have all this stuff. We grew up, and I know you could relate. You had a dictionary, you had a thesaurus, you had the library, you had encyclopedias, you had your mom or dad or your aunt or uncle telling you, how did the Korean War work out? We couldn't Google it and say, how did the Korean War work out? What we learned was somebody's opinion, or we got real news. And I think that was the hardest part about being a kid, is that there was so much information out there that it was limited. And so when I say that I didn't know things, it was the unknown things that wasn't shared with us, that the kids nowadays have instant access to.
Yeah.
Of like, here you go, and I'll say this in regards to that, the innocence, that was what I was looking for, the innocence that we had then versus now. When I grew up, we got kicked out of the house. Summer vacation, prime example. It was 8 o'clock in the morning. Mom and dad kick you out of the house. You go play with your friends. They knew where you were going. Yep. You came, you fended for yourself. You found your own lunch. You came back when the streetlights came on. Oh, your mom and dad were yelling down the street. So there's that innocence. And I think that's the thing that I miss, is the innocence of any event, because it's ruined by people that want to force their views. They're not happy. And I just feel if we were honest about stuff up front, it would all work itself out a lot quicker. Especially right now, like, American politics are crazy and no one ever wants to get into it. And I stay away from it because it's innocent at that point. Like the ignorance to me is bliss. And that's, as an adult, that's how it is. I'm like, I'll watch the news for the weather, some local stuff. But once it starts getting the other things, I have to step away. I'm like, I can't. I'll take it piece by piece.
Amazing. Okay, it's not the end yet. Let's play now the word association game. Okay, I'm going to give away some. Just tell one word that comes to your mind. Quick thinking.
Okay.
So let's start with fear.
Fear. Life.
Money.
Power.
Life.
Joy.
Love.
Eternal.
Family.
Necessary.
Sex.
Intriguing.
Interesting. Religion.
Questionable.
Friendship.
Eternal.
Politics.
Confusing.
Desire.
Necessary.
Regret.
Unuseful.
Success.
Ah. Challenging.
Wish.
Ooh. Daily.
Happiness.
Self-imposed.
I like that. One word for Michigan State.
Beautiful.
One word for USA.
Challenging.
One word for adult content creator.
Eccentric.
And the last one now, Native Americans, one word.
Forgotten.
Interesting. Let's pretend I'm going to meet your lovely partner, your husband, for a coffee, and I'm going to ask him, define Lucas in one positive word and one negative word only, what he would say.
Oh, the negative word first would probably have to be fearful.
Okay. And then in the positive?
The positive? Determined.
If I would ask the same question to your parents, would be the same answer?
The positive would be determined. The negative one would be self-conscious.
Interesting. Let's play now Lucas and the Magic Box, and you can ask me a question. But before you ask me the question, as you mentioned about your admiration for Adele, the singer, what's your favorite song of her?
Oh, it's Set Fire.
Okay. Hey, you can ask me a question now, Lucas.
So, for you, William, and I ask this question a lot with friends that when we have dinner parties and things like that. And it's a cliche question, so I apologize.
Okay.
Who would be the one person that you would want to have dinner, drinks, coffee with that is living or passed on that meant the most to you in your life?
Wow. I was thinking I read about someone like I said, okay, this is going to be this person. However, when just the little ending of your question straight away got back to another person, and I'm gonna tell you who. Growing up, I had back in Brazil, I remember growing in the 80s, of course. I remember growing up in the 80s. And I remember, and it's my biggest idol. It's someone that I think nowadays, I'm the person who I am because I always follow my dreams. I've always been very determined about going out of my dreams and, living a life that I always wanted. And I think that I'm so grateful to her because growing up as a child and seeing every morning this, let's say, it's an icon. Her name is Xuxa. I'm gonna send you a link again because she's still very big in Brazil, South America. She's massive in Spain and Latin America. She's really in the 80s, 90s. She was like the biggest star ever. And she was working for kids. Like she had this daily show where literally every morning the starship was coming and suddenly opening, and she was coming through out of this starship bringing positive positive attitude, like vibes and music. So actually she says, I raised the whole generation in the 80s. It's so true because everyone from the 80s, 90s, they know who she is, and she's so big.
Okay.
Xuxa, her name, Shusha. So I'm so grateful for her because nowadays, for example, about not growing up, about not smoking, all this kind of thing, it's because of her. Because I remember her
Yeah.
like talking, and actually, fun enough, it was so powerful the way she was. I was like 5 years old, 3 years old when I started watching her. So imagine every morning this Barbie, brown, this beautiful Barbie come out of the starship, with those positive, vibe and everything. And I remember, like, for me, she wasn't like a normal person like me. For me, she was like out of nowhere. When I started
Right.
growing up and I realized that she was a person like me, she had the thing. I was like, oh my god, I cannot believe that. So it's interesting how people they can give a big impact in your life. And
Oh,
for
for
me,
sure.
I can't wait. I can't wait one day to meet her in person because I'm gonna tell her how much I appreciate for to
Aw.
be able to grow up, seeing her every single day, and she knows because there's so many. I had actually so many people here on the show, and people even in the U.S. as well. I had surprised some people know her. I was like, oh my god, how do you know that? And people from South America, people she's so big in Argentina as well. People they know her very well. So yeah, I would like to have her in my table one day just to talk to her and to show my admiration for her and gratitude as well for the work she did, not just for me, for the whole generation back in Brazil, because everyone loves her and we know how much the impact that she was given every morning. Imagine sometimes you're having trouble in your life as a kid, you don't know what was happening with your parents, but knowing that you're gonna have this beautiful,
Yes.
idol every morning, like it makes you forget about everything. And I'm gonna answer the other person that came to my mind as well before you end in your question. It was Princess Diana actually. It's someone that would love to
Oh,
sit down with her, just to have a moment and understand how this beautiful, unique lady, she left this remarkable, marks in everyone's lives. I think I would love to have
yeah.
opportunity to imagine having her here on the show.
Oh my God. And it's really funny that it's funny that, not funny, but it's ironic that you bring up her because I don't think, and again, my perception, I don't think that the Brits understand she had a very large impact on the States, in the States as well,
Yeah.
especially with the 80s and 90s, people that grew up in those eras, because I remember my mom watching or wanting to watch the wedding, and watching the boys be raised and
Yeah.
having all of the drama go on. And my mom's a huge fan of The Crown and she understands it's a dramatization of it all, but she's like, to get her one more time in our life,
Wow.
because dealing with all the children with AIDS and people with AIDS and her
Yeah.
humanitarian efforts, and just seeing her wanting those boys to be
Hmm.
raised as boys. And
Yeah.
again, I think I agree with you. We had a TV personality like yours in the States as well. And I think it's just that familiarity with us. And I think, and I love, because Princess Di's name has come up a handful of times in that question. And,
Yeah.
there are other celebrities, but they're not celebrities like her,
She.
that she was so common. She was,
Yeah.
she was a common person. She
Yeah.
was down to earth. And
Absolutely.
then it was great to see, and I'll end in this. It was great to see her when everything happened, just snap her finger and say, I'm going to show you what I can do, and show her own personality. And that black dress that she wore to do it in, it will ever be iconic. They talk about in the States all the time. It will forever be an iconic move. And it was like, that's how you get your due diligence in my eyes. And she just, her anniversary comes up, and there are times where they'll show some sentimental clips, and the waterworks will start, because again, that to me was the start of reality TV, of having these people's lives imposed on yours, and you're like, I want that. But I want, like you said, I want to know. If I could give a minute just to talk with her and
Princess
hear her
Diana.
say it's going to be okay.
I think Princess Diana should change the direction of the relation between the royal family and also the people as well. Somehow she put things together and people got more closer to the royals, as they say.
Agreed.
Lucas, did you enjoy the interview?
I did. It was so much fun. I apologize that it took me so long to get back to you, but I'm glad that we could line things up, and it was an experience, and it's really meant really a lot to me. So thank you.
Thanks so much. It meant to be today. First of all, on one reason or another, we meant to have this moment today. And thanks so much for being so open about talking about your life. And you have no idea how much people watch this interview right now. They might appreciate, you talking so open about, being sober and life experience, about as well being Native American. I think it's fascinating to see that, and people, they appreciate for sure. But before you go, if you can share a positive message or anything that you live by.
Yeah. And it's funny because I thought about that when you had sent me, the bio and everything. And the one thing is and it's something that I've kind of started to do myself, is be the first one to smile, no matter what, no matter your day. Just be the first one to smile, because you never know if it's going to brighten that person's day or not. And I'll be honest, I do have resting face where it's not the greatest sometimes, so I have to tell myself your face is screaming and it shouldn't be. But I found just shooting a smile at somebody, it makes their day. I know a couple people have done it to me today and a couple times at the gym, and I think it just makes people feel recognized, that they're there, because I think that's a big thing that I feel is kind of hard in today, that people don't feel that they're recognized, that they're just another person, they're another number. And especially people that live in big cities, we're always on the go. We go, and we don't take the time just to smile and nod. And I think that if we can get back to that would be something. So I think if everyone were to do it, I think over time it'll just kind of get back to that little happy place again. So
absolutely. And just adding to that as well, smile to yourself first thing in the morning. As soon as you look in the mirror, give a smile to yourself, and trust me, your life is gonna change for a better way.
Exactly.
Give a big smile as soon as you wake up and look in the mirror, and you're gonna be able to smile for other people as well, for sure.
Exactly.
Thank you so much, Lucas. Regards to your parents, to your husband, your friends, and you keep in touch. Okay, it was a pleasure having you on the show.
Thank you so much. You have a good day now.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
So, did you like the show? Don't forget to give a like, share it, and also don't forget to subscribe to the channel. And if you'd like to be part of the show as well, first, subscribe to our channel, and after that, just go to our website, www.williamandthemagicbox.com, and send us a request saying why you'd like to be part of the show. And I see you there. Bye-bye. See you next time.